Hey everyone, this is FFXV. This is a long overdue video of the Ines introduction. I hope you guys enjoy it. Without further ado, let's dive into it.
あなたの命は狙わないってことだけ覚えておいて、ドクター。
Ines as the first 6-star agent, she has reduced her deployment time 35 seconds or 31 seconds with potential, and she can use range attacks, which means she can attack area units. When compared to a 5-star counterpart, which is Cantabile, she has better ATK, HP, and depth. Her uniqueness, however, comes from both of her incredibly strong talents. Her talent 1, which is Shadow Weaving. On the first hit against an enemy, she binds them for 5 seconds and she steals 180k. That steal lasts until the target is defeated or when Ines is retreated. It's important to note that talent 1 only takes effect when Ines successfully hit the enemy, which means if the enemy has dodged and she doesn't hit them, she will only apply the bind and damage steal once she successfully somehow hit them. For instance, in this example, the enemy that Ines will be attacking has really high evasion, so you'll be seeing her missing multiple attacks and not binding them. However, as soon as she successfully lands a hit, she will bind them and also steal 80k from them, as you can see demonstrated here for the last mob in the row. Her talent 1 also works on any enemy units, even if it's the box in R11. As you can see in this example, she has 639 ATK, and after she attacks the box, she now has 739 ATK. However, if you use her to attack a friendly unit, like standard summoned, it will not steal 80k from it, as you can see in this example. The ATK steal from Ines Talent 1 is stealing the enemy's best stats. For instance, in the map of 718, Petra has an ATK of 1600. So Ines will steal 100 ATK from that before the ATK is being multiplied by other multipliers. For example, his first one buff, which is 50% buff, and then another 20% buff, which makes him 2720 ATK, and he does 4 hits of that. After Ines debuff, he will only do 2550. However, since his ATK is so high anyway, so that's just really a small part. It can still help though. For instance, in this case, it can help to even more stabilize this combo of stalling the Patriot with Ashina, as she steals 101 ATK. You can usually already do this without Ines, but Ines just make it even more stable. The ATK that she steals from talent 1 when applied to herself is aided at the end of the equation. For instance, with her S2, she has 639 ATK as base, and after she attacks, she has 739 ATK. But with S2, which gives her another 110% ATK, it will become 1442. This is because the 100 ATK is added at the end of the equation. Since her skill 2 just gives her extra 110% ATK, rather than like saying Winner S3 that would deal 180% ATK. As shown here, it's added to the final ATK before multiplied by 1.8x damage multiplier, making it 1330. Now let's move on to talent 2, which is Shadow Sentinel. Enemy within attack range of Ines loses stealth and have minus 30% movement speed. After retreating, leave a Shadow Sentinel behind, which maintains this effect, and she can leave up to one of it behind. This is incredibly useful because the Shadow Sentinel she left behind doesn't take deployment slot and doesn't even take the tile. You can deploy operator on the tile that the Shadow Sentinel is deployed on, and it will still be there and be in effect. The range of Shadow Sentinel is the same as Ines' range. As you can see, it is 3 tiles, which includes the tile she stands on and the 2 tiles of her attack range which is in front of her. And it will always be facing the direction that you deployed her, which means you can easily control where you want to place this anti-stealth and movement speed reductions. As you can see in this clip, Shadow Sentinel successfully reveals enemies that were supposed to be stealth, and also reduce movement speed of dogs, which allows Chen to kill them. If you bring any of a skill that is not skill 3, which means skill 1 or skill 2, you can even extend the range or place the Shadow Sentinel at 2 places, as she can leave behind one and her own attack range also have that effect. So as you can see in this example, I would place Ines first and then retreat her immediately so that I could create the 3 tiles of range which are slowed and also reveals the enemies. Then I can place her on the right side, which extended by another 3 tiles. This is the longest range of stealth review that you can ever get. Not even Silver has this long of a range. Not to mention that you can even place her freely on somewhere else on the map. It doesn't even have to be on the straight line. So that you can review stealth on 2 different places if you wish to. The movement speed reduction portion of a talent tool also works incredibly well with other movement speed reduction operators such as Manticore or Module Mostima. In this case, the Pyrite map has a lot of fast moving enemies and I even pick a plus 50% movement speed tag for the enemies. However, with the combo of Mostima, Manticore and also Ines Shadow Sentinel, we're able to slow down the enemies so much that we can kill them without activating any skill. Now let's move on to skill 1. Skill 1 is attack recovery skill, which is Shadow Assault. The next attack inflicts 80% arts damage every second to target for 3 seconds and grants 2 DP. This does not stack. This skill is especially useful when you start in a map that has something to hit immediately. For instance, in Chapter 11, there are a lot of maps with these trees that you can hit with Ines to generate DP to start the map. However, if you don't have a stable target to hit, it's really not that great. It does do okay damage and some magic damage, but it's just not that good of a skill. There are other maps that can make use of an S1 such as H7-2 or even H7-3, where there are shield guard that spawn immediately on the map. So you can make use of those mods to generate DP. It's really just better to use other cost generations such as flag bearers and to immediately deploy your stronger operators so that they can clear the map. The magic damage, as you can see here, is being dealt to the shield guard, but it's not much as first though. DP generation wise, however, as shown in this example, if there's a valid target for her to hit throughout the early game, then she will have similar performance compared to flag bearers with bagpipes. Of course, this is not always true since there won't be always enemies that are super tanky for you to hit throughout the early game. So take this with a grain of salt. Moving on, we have a skill 2, Lightless Night. Expand attack range, attack increase by 110% and gain stealth. Attack square 1 DP and steal 7 attack speed from a target up to 70 points, and it lasts until skill ends or Ines retreat. 12 seconds, duration, 20 SP cost, and 15 initial SP. This is an incredibly strong skill because of stealth and attack speed steal. With E2 level 90, Mastery 3, and Plot 6, her skill 2 allows her to have 1432 ATK. Due to the attack speed gained from attacking enemy, she can do a total of 18 hits, which means generating 18 DP, provided you have a Plot. If you don't, it will be 17 hits, 17 DP. The stealth portion also provides her with a much needed survivability, what allows her to deal damage. As you can see here, even when she was blocking an enemy, her stealth is not removed. The enemy only started attacking her after a skill expires since she lost the stealth when the skill ends. What it tells us here is that she can only be attacked by enemies that she's blocking when she has stealth. The extra attack range on skill 2 also allows her to hit further enemy, which further increase her safetiness. As you could see in this clip that she was able to hit the drone that was 3 tiles away. Her stealth also allows her to deal with many tough situations such as this. In Sui, the AoE actually cannot hit her during her stealth. Same goes for FFXV boss AoE, or Sea Reaper's AoE sanity damage. She is also not a valid target for Anduin's ricochet, or she's made white AoE scan when he enters phase 2. As you can see here, Ines is not selected as a target. She can even ignore the explosions of spiders that are killing them, as you can see in this example. Simply put, she is immune to most damage when she has stealth. Are they damaged that can damage her? Yes, for sure. For example, in AP5, there's the red mist in the map, and she can still be damaged by the mist during stealth. What differs between stealth and camouflage is that camouflage takes damage from splash damage while stealth does not. However, in the case of Altar, it does not hit a camouflage target, but it does hit a stealth target. Let's talk about some daily usage cases. In this map, for example, there are early weak mob rush. You can use her to generate DP and deal with the first mob wave very easily. She can also be used to guide one single lane. For example, in this map, the bottom has low to medium threat enemies. She can be used to guide the lane alone actually. In this clip, you'll see her being able to deal with all the mobs on the bottom lane alone while also generating DP for everyone else. As mentioned before when I was talking about talent, when you're bringing skill 1 or skill 2, we're also able to extend the range of the Shadow Sentinel as she can leave one behind, and her on attack range also count for the stealth review and also movement speed reduction. With S2, it also has even extended range since S2 has attack range increased. Now let's move on to skill 3, Long Shadow's Return. The first deployment does not consume DP. Instead, Ines faces a Shadow Sentinel, retreats, and refreshes her deployment time. After deployment, attacks was 160%. Immediately retrieve the Shadow Sentinel and deal 200% physical damage up to 6 enemies it passes through. Within the skill duration, return 1 DP for every attack against an enemy. The Shadow Sentinel increases its damage for every time it passes through an enemy, as you can see in this example. Ines is deployed and it hits 5 different enemies. Every time the Shadow Sentinel passes through an enemy, her ATK is increased by 100. Hence, Shadow Sentinel projectile damage also increased by double that since it does 200%. It's also important to note that it would bind every single enemy that it passes through. So you can use this in combo with other specialist operators that could bind, slow, or basically use this to stall enemies with best combinations. For example, here I would use Phantom S3, then we have Kafka and also Ines S3. Here we can stall this practically forever, since I can buy them and buy enough time for Widdy to charge up so that Widdy can push them back. Then we can repeat the cycle over and over again. Remember that the projectile has 1.4 AoE, and the starting point of it will hit more enemy. As you can see, it only hits 1 here, and if I place the starting point closer to the enemy, it will hit 2 of them instead. Her skill tree also allows her to have extremely high attack based on the number of enemies she steals attack from. For instance, in RA8, she's able to kill drones effortlessly. The downside of using S3 compared to S4, however, is just the attack range is not increased, and she also doesn't have stealth to protect her. So it's better to be used against enemies that won't attack her or can kill her quickly. So, in conclusion, is she worth the pull? Yeah. She's a really good quality of life that can make a lot of stuff easier in daily maps. But she's not a must pull. However, she is nothing too game breaking like Sentinel or Muinar. How about her bots? I would say her pot 3 and pot 4 are both quite important. Pot 4 allows her to get one more hit in, and pot 3 would make her deployment time shorter, and that would be essential for CC. So, depends on what you need. Normally you wouldn't even need pot 2 either way, but pot 1 is just fine. So how about daily usages? So, example in this map, you can see this boss will apply disarm every time you do a certain amount of damage to it. But Ines can completely dodge that with skill 2 because the stealth would make the disarm being unable to be applied to her. Her S3 can also have various usages as shown before. S1 has also good DP cost generation if you have a constant hit target. So all 3 of the skills are useful, but I recommend S2 and S3 mastery for daily usages. How about integrated strategy tree? In IS3, you usually, in high difficulty, you revolve around grabbing a few important units first before grabbing DP generation of any kind. However, if you are in need of DP generation and you have extra hope, Ines is a really good pick. Anyway, that will be the end of the video. It took a bit of time to make, and I hope you guys will enjoy it. See you next time.